A warning to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. This story contains the names and voices of people who have died. Let me paint you a picture. It's been raining for most of the day in Sydney, Australia. A hazy Friday in late February 1999. A famous Indigenous artist steps off a plane and drives across the city to a gallery. There's a retrospective of his work on display. The exhibit is in a warehouse just off the beaches of Botany Bay. This artist has been to many galleries showing his work by now. The fame isn't new to him anymore. He walks into the gallery and is surrounded by 20 large canvases. His signature is on all of them. But most of these paintings aren't his.
You're not quite happy?
Yeah, I'm not quite happy, see?
Why?
Because they're not mine.
Who do you think painted those paintings?
I don't know.
This artist? It isn't Norval Morriseau. It's another Indigenous artist on the other side of the world. Another artist who was also the victim of a fraud.
Clifford Possum is the most faked artist, to my mind, in Australia.
If Indigenous artists around the world are getting faked, is any of our work safe? From CBC in Canada and ABC in Australia, this is Forged. Episode 6, Still Painting. As an artist, I travel a lot. And over the years, I've been back and forth to Australia. My work's shown in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. I'm in 3 exhibits coming up there next year. My mates in Australia have given me the nickname Boomerang because I always come back.
Obviously, Clifford Possum Tjapaltjarri was a hugely influential artist in terms of Australian art history, Indigenous art, one of the sort of founding artists and figures.
I'm walking around the Art Gallery of New South Wales with a curator, but this time I'm not in Sydney for an exhibition of my work. I'm here to learn about an artist whose story bears an eerie resemblance to Norval's.
So both of these are... No, this is Clifford.
That's right, yeah.
Just this one?
Just this one here.
Beauty. Large-scale work with the dots, but also the lines. To me, it reminds me...
I'm standing in front of the work of Clifford Possum Tjapaltjarri. There used to be other paintings here with Clifford's name on them. Works that he didn't paint. Clifford was born on Anmatyerre country in central Australia, what's known as the Northern Territory. It's a place of red earth and open blue skies, the outback. Like Norval, Clifford grew up speaking his Indigenous languages and learning from his ancestors. And like Norval, he wanted to share some understanding of his culture through his paintings.
I'm still happy my work, all that, because from grandfathers and grandmothers, I still carry on today.
It's a bit hard to understand here. English wasn't Clifford's first language. He spoke 6 Western Desert languages. He's explaining why he loved painting, that it was a connection between him and his grandfathers and grandmothers. Clifford and Norval each created entire artistic movements. Norval with the Woodland School, and Clifford was a founder of the Anmatyerre Artist Cooperative, known for their dot painting style. When I look at Clifford's paintings closely, I see the hundreds, sometimes thousands of dots that fill the canvas. They make me think of the desert landscapes in Australia, expansive. The complexity, the beauty of Clifford's work doesn't go unnoticed.
Clifford Possum is a major celebrity in an Indigenous art market that's now worth $200 million a year.
A painting by Clifford Possum Tjapaltjarri has become the most expensive piece of Aboriginal artwork. The work Wallakalong sold for $2.4 million at auction in Melbourne last night.
His paintings hang in galleries around the world.
And even with all the fame, Clifford remains grounded. He spends most of his time in the Northern Territory, where he's from. And that's where he is in 1999, when a local art dealer tells him that he has to get to Sydney right away to look at some paintings. There's an exhibit there of Clifford's works, but they don't look like his. So Clifford gets on a plane to Sydney and heads to a warehouse gallery.
Right. Well, it was all blown open by an exhibition that advertised itself as a retrospective of Clifford Possum's work.
This is Vivian Johnson. She's an art historian. She wrote a book about Clifford, and she was a friend of his.
So what happened was that Clifford denounced most of the paintings in the retrospective as, to quote him, not mine.
Just like Norval, Clifford had been faked. And it wasn't just that exhibit. Clifford found more. He found fakes in the Museum of Contemporary Art Australia and the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Clifford went to the police. He told them he hadn't painted these paintings, that they weren't his, but he'd seen them before, and he knew who was responsible. The police opened an investigation.
A senior detective by the name of Paul Baker was the one who led the investigation. He was called by his colleagues the Chardonnay detective. He said someone threw the file down on his desk and said, here's one for you, you'll get to sip a lot of Chardonnay and drink a lot of lattes talking to these art world people. So it was not taken seriously, the idea of forgery. There'd never been a conviction for forgery in Australian legal history at this point. But Paul Baker took it really seriously, had the greatest of respect for Clifford, and he doggedly investigated it.
The Norval forgeries had his signature on them, but he hadn't signed them at all. But for Clifford, it was different, because he had signed these forgeries. Clifford tells the police that these paintings lead to one man, a man who had forced him to sign them.
It turned out that all of these paintings that Clifford was saying were not mine had come through John O'Loughlin.
John O'Loughlin was a non-Indigenous art dealer from Adelaide. He knew Clifford, had bought paintings from him, and sold them to other dealers across Australia. Clifford said that John drove him deep into the bush and forced him to sign canvases that John had painted. Clifford said that John intimidated him, that he'd been scared. He said that he worried that John might have shot him if he hadn't signed those paintings. After a months-long police investigation, John O'Loughlin was arrested.
John, witnesses have claimed that they've seen you painting Aboriginal paintings yourself. John, I need a response from you.
No, I've told you I have no comment.
John, there have been serious allegations made about your involvement. He refused to be interviewed, but told us through his closed front door that the accusations against him were all lies.
In court, John claimed that Clifford had made him an honorary cousin, that he and Clifford ate kangaroo intestines together, and that Clifford told John, "You can do the dotting. You are my cousin." Vivian Johnson served as an expert witness in Clifford's case.
I think the court case was a bit of a circus. It was so distressing because he didn't understand the procedure. For Clifford, the process of cross-examination was so painful for him. At one point, he kind of shouted across the courtroom, "You calling me a liar?" He thought that he could accuse this person and the evidence would be presented and a judgment would be made, not that someone would come in and try to undermine his truth.
John O'Loughlin was put on a 3-year good behavior bond. He was supervised by a probation officer, but he didn't go to jail.
Clifford wasn't in the courtroom for the sentencing hearing. He'd already gone back to Central Australia, I think, a somewhat broken man.
After the trial and all the publicity, Clifford withdrew from the art scene. He stayed in the Northern Territory where he was from.
He felt shame that something was going out into the world as his work, and something that undermined the core part of his identity as a result.
For Clifford Possum and others like him, a great art form has been reduced to a production line fuelled by need and greed. And like the master himself, both the art and the culture it's supposed to honour have been exploited and corrupted along the way.
He became really ill. He actually collapsed in a coma and was flown out to Adelaide Hospital, where people, well, it was actually, I think it was assumed that he was going to die, but he actually recovered in a near miraculous fashion. But it turned out that he was suffering from cancer.
The prominent Indigenous artist Tjapaltjarri has died in Alice Springs. The 70-year-old artist died yesterday evening after lapsing.
One of the most faked artists is Clifford Possum Tjapaltjarri. He's regarded as one of the greatest Australian artists of the 20th century. But before his death in 2001, Tjapaltjarri became famous for being forged rather than for the brilliance of his art.
As an Indigenous artist, I'm an inheritor of those who came before me, of Clifford, of Norval. In some ways, I'm here because of them, their legacies. The shadow that hangs over them isn't about what they made, but what others took. There's a long history of non-Indigenous people profiting from our artwork. It's bigger than Clifford and Norval. There are Indigenous artists across Canada, in the States, and others in Australia too, who have their own stories of being faked. Painters who found copies of their works online, knockoffs sold at a discount. Carvers who have been replicated by forgers in Eastern Europe using 3D printers. Some say replicas of their works come from Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines, where local artisans are paid measly wages. Middlemen ship their creations elsewhere and reap the profits. There are these windows when our art is popular, when our work is in demand, and people want to get as much from us as they can. And with that want comes predators. Those who will take advantage, extract what they want, and leave the rest behind. When settlers first came to my territory, to the plains, they hunted the buffalo to near extinction. This animal was and is so central to our way of life. They took the parts of the animal they valued, leaving the rest to rot. And I have to wonder, what's left behind? So here I go, applying the yellow. There, better. Strange though, still doesn't look exactly right. This past year, while I've been working on this show, traveling to Thunder Bay and Australia, riding around with cops, poring over court documents, I've also been painting. Painting a portrait of Norval. Okay, now I'm going to move into the blacks. I'm going to get up nice and close to the portrait part of it because I need to fill in the blacks and make it more into like a Norval piece, but at the same time, I don't want to lose aspects of the portrait itself. Okay, I'm trying to keep a steady hand, tiny details. My painting is done now. I put the final touches on it, and I'm left just sitting here looking at it. At Norval. And after looking deep into the shadows of those fakes, now all I see is color. His reds and blues and greens, that vibrancy, it's imprinted in me.
What are your colors?
Red and blue, or light red and light blue.
Here's Norval speaking about his colors, back in 1962. He's talking with a reporter back at his first exhibit, at that sold-out show in Toronto.
And when you do die, what happens to these colors?
They will die with me.
And will you end?
Well, we'll tell you when we come back again next time.
How will I know you?
No, I don't know.
Norval's son Eugene remembers sitting with his dad and some of his siblings, and talking about those colors.
We all sat there, and he says to us, is my colors going to die? He says to us, when I pass on, is my colors going to die? Is my colors going to die once I pass on? That's the question that he asked us. But we kind of kept quiet, all of us, but I kind of thought about it, and my oldest brother, David, was the one who responded. I said to him, Dad, your colors, like, we will carry your colors on, as we know how to paint too, but we will carry your colors on. Of course, your grandkids will carry it on too. And the main thing is, there's so many people that you already touched in this world. And that's how I kind of felt when I told my father I would carry on his colors as well. Then I said to him, Dad, there's so many young artists that you have inspired. I don't think your colors will never die. It's always going to be there, just like all these great artists in history. It's always going to be there. That's what I told him, eh?
I've been thinking about what remains. Sure, there are fakes that are still out there, but there are also beautiful paintings that we know are Norval's. His legacy lives through that, through those of us he inspired. His work surrounds us.
I started having dreams and seeing Norval in dreams.
This is Gabe Vadas again, Norval's adopted son.
And he was in this let's just say a mansion, this beautiful setting. And I went upstairs, and there's this big wide open space, and there's all these canvases all over the place. Just beautiful masterworks all over the place. And he was probably 20 years younger. He was standing in his full regal self and smiling and very happy. And I looked around at just a kaleidoscope of this beautiful, beautiful artwork. And I said, "What you been doing?" He says, "Well, I'm painting my art. I'm still painting."
Forged is a co-production of CBC in Canada and ABC in Australia. It was produced by Kyle Musica and showrunner Zoe Tennant. Our contributing reporter is Luke Rinaldi. Additional production support from Rudy Bremer and Anna-Marie Harding. Our contributing editor is Phelan Johnson, and our senior producer and story editor is Veronica Simmons. Sound design and original music by Graham MacDonald. Emily Metu is our fact-checker. Roshni Nair is our coordinating producer. Our podcast art was designed by Jenica Robinson, design lead at Design de Plume, and member of Ondekt Onbecoming First Nation. Our cross-promo producer is Amanda Cox. Our video producers are Evan Agard, Tamina Aziz, and John Lee. Development by Ashley Mack. Special thanks to producer Donna Carrero from CBC Manitoba, reporter Michelle Allen from CBC Thunder Bay, and filmmaker Michelle Mama. Thanks to our audio technicians, and special thanks to Associate Producer Technician Laura Antonelli, and to our amazing librarians and archivists at CBC, Kate Zeman, John Scaife, Nicholas DeCary, Diana Redigeld, and Caitlin Hoy. And thanks to the ABC's archivist, Lisa Chidlow. We're indebted to Armin Garnett-Ruffo for his amazing book, Norval Morriseau, Man Changing into Thunderbird, and to Carmen Robertson for all her research, and in particular for her book, Mythologizing Norval Morriseau, Art and the Colonial Narrative in the Canadian Media, and to Jamie Kasner for his documentary, There Are No Fakes, and to Luke Rinaldi for his article published in The Walrus, the multi-million-dollar art fraud that shook the world. At CBC Podcasts, executive producers are Cecil Fernandez, Chris Oak, Tanya Springer is the senior manager, and Arif Nurani is director, and Leslie Merklinger is the executive director. Special thanks to the CBC Indigenous Office. At ABC, Kelrick Martin and Jessica Radburn are executive producers. A very special thanks to all our interviewees for speaking with us and sharing their knowledge and experiences. This series would not have been possible without them.